Lynn Kennedy is a figurative artist based in Dublin. She graduated from the Institute of Art, Design and Technology in 1993, and since then has worked in several creative arts, including design, illustration and photography. Lynn now works primarily in oils, and much of her work is commissioned for private collection. This year, her self-portrait was shortlisted for the biennial Root Portrait Self-Portrait Prize and was on exhibition at the Piano Nobile King's Place, London. She also has a painting in the Zurich Portrait Prize in the National Gallery and 2 pieces on display at the RUA Gallery, Belfast. She is currently creating work for an upcoming solo exhibition here at Signal Art Centre in Bray. Lynn, thank you very much for coming down today and being part of this interview series.
Thank you.
The first thing I'd like to ask you, Lynn, is simply, can you tell us a little bit about your background and yourself?
So after I left school, I knew I wanted to work in art. My grandmother had been a painter, and I grew up around her paintings, and so I was kind of inspired by her to be an artist myself. And so I started by doing a portfolio course in Lancome, which we did a lot of different things. We did metalwork and stained glass and a lot of different disciplines, and a lot of drawing and life drawing. And so then, because Lancome is kind of has an association with Dún Laoghaire Art College, we went down on one of our trips down there, and we could see the different courses that were on, and I was kind of attracted to the animation course, so I started off in animation. And there were 15 of us in animation. Only 5 of us finished third year. At that time it was a diploma course, but I think they were upgraded to degrees then. But animation is a tough course actually. We were doing classical animation, so it was 24 frames a second, and it's hard work, so I suppose that's why not many people finished. When I left, there weren't that many animation studios around for work. The Cartoon Saloon had set up, but that was in Kilkenny. Brown Bag, they're still in Dublin, they were quite a big one. But I started off doing animation for PC games, just animation characters, and it was the very start of computers, and I was working in D-Paint, and some of the characters could only be 8 pixels high. It's so different to the way it is now. Yeah. And so I started off animating in there, but then kind of quickly enough moved into 3D modelling, low polygon 3D modelling, because I started working for a company then, a Norwegian company called Lancome, who came over and set up a big studio over here in Clonskee, and they were really the only games company then in Ireland. So I was working for them, making doing textures for backgrounds for racing games, and I'm also doing a lot of 3D modelling. And then, because it takes so long to make games, just a long time, and then you finish this game, it's a great game, but then Sony bring out a game and they're going to have the best thing for the PlayStation, and then you have to start again with yours. So I wanted something a bit more immediate. So I took the skills that I'd learned, and digital skills, and I started in multimedia then in a company called Oniva, and I was making graphics for touchscreen edutainment things for museums, and a lot of 3D modelling, and a bit of animation there too, but also websites and CD-ROMs, and not so much for print, it was mostly for digital then. So I continued on with them until I had my first child in the year 2000. So after that then I continued, because that company had closed down completely, but there were still clients. One of the clients wanted me to work on this big project he had. It was a Danish company, and they wanted their entire factory, all the little bits, the components for the back of freezer rooms for big supermarkets. They wanted them all modelled for some kind of new, considering that computers, the internet had really just started through the 90s, and so I was there making, writing HTML for these very first websites, but it grew so quickly. All the graphics that you could do, and then suddenly you could have animated GIFs, and it was all happening so quickly, year on year. So in this particular thing, they wanted to have all their components 3D modeled, and then you could, if you were building a fridge compartment in your supermarket, you could see which components you needed, and it would tell you, gather them all in your shopping basket. So it was quite a big project for me to work on, and so I set up as a sole trader so that I could do that from home through, this Danish company. And that's where I just started my business from that. And then as I went through, people would ask me to do different things, and then I would either, grow my skills that I already had, or I would just learn new skills. And so, yeah, that's what I was doing. I was illustrating for magazines. And for school books as well. And then I was doing a little bit of 3D modeling. Actually, coming up to 2007, I was mostly 3D modeling houses from plans, because that was the building room. So I was getting architects' plans. I was building the 3D models for them, and they were selling off the plans. And I couldn't get enough of that. I mean, there was just so much of that work. And I remember there was some big block down in Wexford, and I said, well, what colour do you want me to have the outside of this, big apartment block on the Keys? And he said, do whatever colour you want, and we'll paint it that colour. It was just crazy.
Wow.
And, there wasn't enough, they couldn't throw enough money at me for that. And then one day in 2007, it stopped. And I just never got not one single call after that. I should have known that it was all going to crash.
So you seem to have this great can-do spirit, and you're just saying, I'm taking skills I learned there and using them here.
Yeah.
And you've arrived working in oil primarily now. I mean, was that always where you thought you were going to head, or is this you've just found yourself in this sphere now?
Well, while I was doing all that digital work, in the back of my head, I did always want to get back to kind of analog drawing, just back to where I had been in Salinoven doing my portfolio course, all those things, making things with my hands, which I'd still like to do more of, actually, a bit more sculpture, a bit more, I'm terrible at pot throwing, but I love doing it. It's just one of those things that, I wish I had the skill for it, but I don't. But I do love craft, I do love sculpture, and I would love to do a bit more of that, but oil painting was something that I had never done before, but I thought I would love to be good at it, because I've always loved going to exhibitions and seeing paintings, but just never tried it. And so that's what I wanted to do. So I went into a shop, went into an art and hobby, I think it was, or Nimble Fingers or something like that, and I just said, I've never done oil painting before, but I want to be really good at it. I just have this feeling that it's just something that I want to be really good at if I'm going to start it. So bought my first paints, and I actually started in Biffy at a beginner's oil painting course with James Morrison. And so I went up there and I did my 10 weeks, which was brilliant. It was a brilliant course, and he was great. And he said to me, I think it was like my 5th painting, and he said, you're a hair's breadth off doing this professionally.
Wow.
And which was great, to get that from him, to get such a boost so early on in my painting, and I knew it was something then that I really wanted to continue on.
I just urge anybody watching now to have a quick look at the paintings you're surrounded by, your work, and let them know you went into that art shop in 2017.
Yeah.
This is 2019.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
So, I mean, I went at it, I really, I put a lot of time into it, and I did, trying to do a daily painting routine, trying to paint every single day, small, so I got a stack of, 6 by 6 inch canvas boards, and I painted every day for 30 days, and I could see, as I laid them out, what worked, what didn't, which ones I liked and why I liked them, and I suppose the ones that I had painted of people certainly got the most reaction from others, say online, but also they're the ones that I enjoy doing most because I like drawing people, and I like photographing people, and I like drawing people.
And you work quite quickly. I wonder if that a reaction to the length of time the process of animation is so drawn out.
Yes. Well, I mean, if you are animating and you're trying to get the movement of somebody or the light passing over them or something like that, and you do your key drawings, you have to do them quickly, then you do your in-between drawings, and it might not work out. So you don't want to be spending hours laboring over each of these separate drawings. So it's best to capture them. And it's the same if you're sketching in a cafe. You never know when the people are going to move. You've got to get it done quickly. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is that if you spend, like, I still work off a 30% failure rate. And if you're really, spending ages and ages and ages, and you're still 30% of your stuff is going to be things that you're not happy with, you're just going to give up if you've spent hours and hours and hours in something that you're not happy with then afterwards. So I always think it's best to get everything down as quickly as you can, and then refine it if you need to. But often, I prefer the step before it's completely polished. I don't really love the photorealism. I like the more the blocks of colour.
Yeah, I just a question Don to ask. On those more difficult, challenging ones, do you feel sometimes you've won a psychological battle when you finished it?
Yeah, yes. In a way, because I've been looking at it for so long, I'm less likely to like it.
Yeah.
I think if I've worked on something for a long time, I only see what I could change or, more that I could do. Whereas if I've done something quickly, I prefer it generally. I just prefer working that way. Then, I've seen photorealistic paintings and I think, wow, it's a lot of work in that. But I don't necessarily love the result that much more just because more work has gone into it.
Yes.
Maybe that's... Yeah, I think that's kind of why I like oil paint as well, because you can work on it and your paint stays wet. So, you don't have to start everything from the beginning again. You can just pick it up where you left off and go again, and then, go off and do a school run or something, and then come back and go at it again. And maybe that's why the paintings that I do they're finished quicker, because I have my space now that I can go and I can paint and then come back to it again and keep painting. So I paint every day. I paint like a job. So I'm quite disciplined in not leaving something too long.
It's a craft. It's a craft. And you're going with an artist's head.
Yeah, and maybe sort of as a freelancer's head as well, like in all the years that I was a sole trader and working for lots of different companies, sometimes 2 or 3 at a time, that if you've got the time to work, in between being at home with the children, you take it and you make the most of it. There's no point in this might work, this might. You just have to go at it and do the best that you can in the short time that you have before you have to do the next thing.
And you said, how many years ago did you go into that art shop?
It was in January 2017.
January 2017.
Yeah.
You went into that art shop in January 2017, and you've been shortlisted for the Jury Prize in 2019.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, so for the first year that I was painting, I was just seeing what I enjoyed and how I painted. I wanted to see if I could achieve the kind of style that I wanted to in painting lots of different things. But because I had been a portrait photographer, I was interested in faces. I'm interested in people. I always have been, and I've always liked life drawing. And so I had wanted to do I was interested in how people see our skin and what our perceptions are of people from their skin alone. So surface level, but we can't help it. We automatically see people. Say somebody like Claudia, for example, who has EB, which is a very painful disease where it's on a lot of her skin. It's on 80% of Claudia's skin, I think, and it's bandaged up all the time. And Claudia has no collagen in her skin, so it looks sore, it looks thin, and she says that people stare at her all the time. And I heard her on the radio talking to Ryan Tuberty, and she was saying that even though her skin condition is really, really painful, the hardest thing and the most painful thing for her is having people stare at her. And people just look at her like she's not really a person, and they just base everything on her skin and how she looks with her bandages and everything. And I was so, I have a teenager who's a year older than Claudia, and she seemed to have had to go through so much more than most teenagers have to go through. And I really wanted to see if she would allow me to bring some of her message across. So not just a painting of her, but also her thoughts about her skin condition, which is why I wanted to bring some of the words that she has on, from talking to her, but also that she has on YouTube about the skin condition, and, helping to campaign for Deborah Ireland for a cure or for, some kind of relief to the condition, which is so horrible and painful. And, so I got to talk to her through Deborah Ireland. I got to talk to her, got her to write some things down for me, so I got her handwriting. She draws as well. She was doing art for her junior cert, so I got a few of her junior cert drawings that I also traced over in, so they're in the background of the painting as well. So it's kind of nice for her, because she says, well, one of the things about Evie is that the digits go, so one of her hands has fused, so she doesn't have her left hand, and her right hand she still has fingers, but that might fuse before she does her leaving cert, so she might not be able to do art for her leaving cert. So I'm very glad that some of her art is in the National Gallery, even if it's just in the background.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So she still doesn't know. I've been trying to encourage her to submit for the Zurich Junior Prize next year.
Indeed, yeah.
So
it's funny, just kind of on that point, we were talking in one of the interviews we did earlier with an artist called Ray Corcoran, and we were speaking about how he's taking in the landscape that's around him, that he's painting the people around him.
yes.
And it just kind of dawned on me now that it's that quality that an artist has. It's like a poet who witnesses an event, or an actor or a playwright, and they process it. And it's not so much that you're reflecting; it's more actually it's your reaction to what's going on. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot longer about the portraits before I paint them. I mean, then it takes me to paint them.
Yeah.
So so I would have had in my mind's eye what way I was going to paint Claudia for about 4 months before I got to the stage where I was getting her to pose for me. Now, she wouldn't have been able to sit for me while I drew her, so I took some photographs of her. Yeah. That's the good thing about being a photographer and having all the equipment. I can quickly set up for something like that.
And I know you like to sketch, and you're a people watcher.
I am.
I'm the same. But you have that photographer's eye that you can. I think you probably have the photographer's eye that you see something in your own mind's eye, that something clicks and go, "Ooh, that's interesting."
Yes.
And you follow that.
Yes, probably. But also because I've taken so many portraits in different kinds of light, natural light, and then also edited, and I edit for other people too, that I suppose when I see somebody and I see where the light is hitting them, I know all the different places on the face that light is going to hit. So in the cafe situation, for example, because I sketch a lot in cafes, if that, nobody ever knows that I'm sketching them. So I'm quickly interested in something else if they glance over at me, but that's part of the excitement of it. But then quite often they'll just leave and they'll go off somewhere else, and I'll have to remember, okay, well, if the light was coming from this point, I know that this bit is going to be in light and this bit is going to be the darkest shadow. I try and get that bit in as quickly as possible first. But I suppose from that, yes, I would know through photography and through sketching where all the light is going to hit. That helps enormously. Even though I'm mostly working photographs in my painting, I kind of know the human face and capturing.
It's like stamping that negative really quickly.
Yeah.
You were recently here in using the studio, weren't you?
I was, yeah.
You were in residence. And how did you find it?
Oh, it was fantastic. I mean, what a great opportunity, because at home I have a 6 by 6 foot box bedroom that I work in, and it's fine. But here, the studio is great. It's such a great size, and you can't argue with the the value that you get for what you pay, and to have it for the entire summer nearly, all that space, and I just got so much work done. And I think I was here nearly 7 days a week.
That's great.
For every week that I was here, and so 10 weeks. So I got a lot done. I got a lot of commissions done, and then I got work for the exhibition next March.
On that, you have an exhibition upcoming here in 2020, March 2020?
March 2020, yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So it is, it's all around the theme of skin and our perceptions of skin, and so all the work is geared towards that, and that's the reason why I painted the one of Claudia, and then I have a few other ones. It's dark skin, light skin, tattooed skin, damaged, different skin color through families and through adoption, and that kind of thing, and old skin as well. So I got very lucky with the old skin, and I found somebody who is in Signal a lot, and he had the perfect face.
No behind you.
No behind
Fabulous portrait.
Yeah, he was such a nice guy.
Yeah,
and
I can tell anybody watching it, comes and frequents Signal a lot, and that is an absolutely fascinating, fabulous portrait.
Yeah, so I just saw him when I was in here with renting the studio space, and I just almost stopped dead in my tracks when I saw him, and I just said, I have to paint him, and he was so sweet about it, and so he was happy to pose for me, and
excellent. We look forward to that exhibition. After all you told us, Lynn, about your road to where you are now, I have a final question to ask you, and I suppose what advice would you give to anybody who is starting that road, or any words of inspiration to a young artist?
Well, I would say for a young artist, because my daughter is just starting in fine arts, she's first year in IDT, and I would just say, just paint everything and anything, and you will find what you like painting, you will find what you are good at, and the style that you like to paint in, and just keep working towards the way you want to paint, because for the first few months I was painting, and I was painting every day, but I knew it wasn't the way that I wanted to paint, and it's just about working towards getting paintings, or painting in a way that you like the results of, and that works for you, and that it's not a really hard slog to do a new piece if you kind of know what way it's going to turn out. Yeah.
That's great advice. Lynn, thank you very much for taking the time to use this.